Hey guys, good morning. I am Tamil Selvan Bharati. It is about what? 8:16 a.m. August 29th. I'm about to start morning dog walk. And as always, let us say good morning to the sun. I'm flipping the camera. I want to show the sun through my weeping willow trees. You know, yesterday we were talking about anoxic encephalopathy, cardiac arrest, just some scattered thoughts. We were talking about it today. We'll continue discussing about those kinds of things. And then also I learned a bunch of things about air conditioning because looks like I got to change one of my AC units. So I learned a lot about it. So I want to share that with you. You probably know a lot more about it if you've had this problem at your home, and you can share it in your comments. I'll benefit from your comments. And here is Icy, happily walking, leading me. And Pepsi and Cookie, they are inside the bush. I'm supposed to really maintain this lawn, mow the lawn, but I don't do any of it, as you can see. It costs a lot, a lot of time. And right now, time is precious. I'm not able to do it. Okay, hey guys, so we discussed about cardiac arrest, cardiac causes for it a few days ago. Flatlining, that's called as cardiac, arrest asystole. That's one thing. And then ventricular fibrillation, that'll also make you lose your pulse. You become pulseless and CPR needs to be initiated, and that can be revived by shocking the heart, the defibrillator. Oh, I'm not supposed to catch that. That scene. Peppy having her private moment. And also today is our trash day. So look at the city of Norman. I need to put my green cart outside like this. Green carts are for non-recyclable. Okay, and then blue carts in our town are recyclable. I think that is standard in the United States throughout. Anyway, continuing with the discussion. And then we also discussed a little bit about pulseless electrical activity, where you lose your pulse, but the heart still has electrical activity on the monitor. That happens when, of course, there are various reasons why it could happen, but one classic example would be like, blood loss and stuff like that. And then when your heart stops, CPR needs to be done as soon as possible, 100 to 120 times a minute. You need to push cardiac compression, and then that should be at least 2 inch deep, and then 2 breaths every 30 cardiac compression. Every 30 chest compression that you do, then you got to do 2 breaths. And then that prevents anoxic encephalopathy. In the brain, we discussed the fact that, we need to somehow try to maintain brain circulation those first several minutes after a cardiac arrest until the EMS personnel arrive and they take over, because brain quickly gets damaged. And in the brain, guys, you got your cerebrum, the left cerebrum and the right cerebrum. And then you got your brain stem. And then, you got the spinal cord. So the brain stem connects your cerebrum to the spinal cord. And then within the brain stem, that's where you have your crucial, autonomic functions of the body. See, when you think about it, there are certain things that, we do because we want to do it, and that's all cerebral. It's under cerebral control. So volitional, you decide to do it, you do it. You want to pick a cup of coffee, you pick it up. That's volitional. But then there are certain things that are autonomic. It happens whether you want to do it or not. It keeps on happening in the body. Like, for instance, the heart beating, and then the respiration. Even if you try to hold your breath, you can't hold your breath. I can't hold it for maybe a minute or more. And then there's such a strong, force to go breathe again, and then you end up breathing. That's an autonomic function. So all the autonomic functions of the body. Hey, there are a bunch of deers in that land, and in fact there are 2 baby deers, white-tailed deers, and they're all playing. But right now with this Pocket DJI zoom only being limited to twice, 2x, so I'm not able to zoom in and show it to you. Anyway, so now continuing the discussion. So autonomic functions of the body. It's all controlled by the brainstem. It happens naturally. And then the volitional control, what you want to do, that's all cerebral. That includes talking and everything, motor functions, that's all cerebral. So the brainstem, when brainstem dies, then that's where you lose your, hey, Peppy, come here. Sorry guys, I have to redirect my dogs because my neighbor's dogs are chasing them out of their property, which they should, territorial. So, when brainstem gets, damaged, then you lose your breathing ability, spontaneous breathing ability. So those types of patients who've had anoxic encephalopathy that damage their brainstem, then they wouldn't breathe naturally. So, sometimes you hear, them talking in the ICU, oh, brain dead, but the patient is being ventilated and waiting for the family to arrive. So they can really maintain such a patient by ventilation, because the heart might have picked up a rhythm and it might be working, but they are not breathing on their own. So the ventilator, they'll set the ventilator to give X amount of breath a minute, like 15 breaths a minute or something, and with a certain amount of tidal volume and pressure, so that air is forced into their lungs, and then the lungs, of course, it would work, as long as air comes inside with adequate amount of oxygen, the lungs would work. So they are just kept alive like that until the family comes, and then those patients are really brain dead. So they are the candidates for organ donor. If they are an organ donor, they harvest the organs. Okay, so, and then we'll talk more about it. I wanted to talk a little bit about Krebs cycle and how individual cells they get the fuel and how they burn it and all that. It's very interesting, guys, and I hope you understand that I'm not trying to say like I'm a master of this or anything. I'm reading about all this because I want to talk about it. I find it interesting, so I read about it, I refresh on my memory from my books, and then I talk about it. But it is fantastic. I read about all this basic biochemistry, physiology, all that long ago. I'm talking about 1987, 1988, 89, that kind of time period. So now when I read about all this, it's very fascinating. It's amazing that, like Krebs cycle, the metabolic pathway, all that, they were all decoded back in 1930s and 40s, and it amazes me that scientists are able to figure out all these things. How can they just figure out what's happening inside the cell? How can they just know what's happening inside the mitochondria? So I'm just left with complete wonderment. This is just amazing. Anyway, we'll continue to talk about whatever fascinates me. I plan to talk about it here during these walks. And if you like them, tune in, and then, you might get stimulated to go read about this, and educate me about something that you have learned also. I like that. And lastly, I said I wanted to just discuss a little bit about air conditioning. Hey, so you guys have heard about this Freon. Freon, it's a hydrofluorocarbon. It's a gas that can be compressed into liquid. And then when it is in liquid form, it is just so cold. And that's what they use in traditional air conditioning. And Freon, I believe it's the trade name for the older R22. Because, there are different versions of it. And R22 got banned in United States back in 2010 because it depletes your ozone layer. Even that ozone layer and all that, can you believe that they figured out all these things? Humans with their mind, they just figure out all the things that are happening in the stratosphere, troposphere. They are able to land, your rover in Mars. So it's unbelievable, what these guys are able to do, these scientists. Human achievements, we cannot describe how great they are, amazing. So anyway, so ozone layer gets depleted by these, hydrofluorocarbon materials. See, R22 got banned, and I was checking about it, Googling it, and then it looks like India still has got it. India still uses R22, and in the United States, they went from R22 to R410A. That was in 2010. What we have is R410A. And looks like they are now going to ban that too, because even that depletes your ozone layer. So I think from next year, you're going to end up with R34, something like that. So it's really interesting how they even air conditioning system by itself, it's amazing how they figured out all this. Because remember guys, law of conservation of energy, what it says is that the energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can only be transferred. So what we do in air conditioning system is we take the heat from one place and we just dissipate it, and we take it elsewhere and then we throw it outside. Like traditional air conditioning system, that's what they do. Take the heat from inside your house. So bring the outside temperature in Oklahoma. Frequently nowadays we have it like 105, but we try to maintain our home temperature at 70. So the difference, 105 to 70, the 35-degree difference, you transfer that heat to outside. That's all you do. And then that is effectively done by these chemicals, hydrofluorocarbons. It's a gas, and you compress it, and then you compress it. It is a process that requires electrical energy. So you compress it, and when you compress it, makes it into liquid, and then it's so cold. And when it is so cold, and when it circulates inside the house, and then there is an evaporator there inside the house, and when the evaporator allows this liquid to evaporate, then that takes all the heat, because that's a process that takes heat. So in exchange for the liquid to become gas. And then when that happens, so the air inside the evaporator, that gets really cold, and that you circulate inside the house so that you get cooling. It's amazing, isn't it guys, all these things. It really fascinates me. Anyway, now let me show you the morning sun. I hope you are working out while you're watching this. Look at this power grid close to my house. And look what I see. He's nowadays well behaved. He's trailing behind me. Not too far. Pretty close. Pepsi, come here. Pepsi is ahead of me. Trailing. So anyway, I'm going to take this path and go. And I'm going to walk for a total of 4 miles. Hopefully you guys are also working out. Stay healthy guys. Have a great day. And today, look at this. I'm matching. I got green cap, green shirt. So stay healthy, be happy, spread love guys. Okay, signing off. Goodbye.